Hello and welcome. This is my automotive channel. Today I'm working on this Mazda CX-5 with a loss of compression into the cooling system. So this is a simple test to show you how it would look like when your compression is being lost into the radiator. So this is the pipe which goes into the reserve tank with the coolant, and that's the compression that is being lost. So those bubbles are a sign that this car has a problem with the head gasket. So in this video, we're going to rectify that problem. Kindly note, I'm not doing this as a DIY, I'm a professional mechanic. And whenever you have such a problem, you just have to take your car to your mechanic. Don't attempt to do this job on your own, or else you risk damaging the engine. You need to understand what you're doing. So for this car, the customer used to top up coolant every day, every morning, every now and then. Whenever you drive for 50 to 100 kilometers, the vehicle would overheat because the coolant level in the radiator would deplete. So these are the bubbles. So let's watch the process. So always remember to start with the easier things like draining coolant. So this car has a drain plug on the radiator, that white thing over there. So just unbolt it and the coolant to come out. And remove the battery, remove the ECU or the PCM as some people call it. So there's 3 bolts. You remove the air filter housing, anything that you can easily access. Disconnect all the cables. I would mention that Mazda did a very good job on this car. The consumption is perfect. The pickup is perfect. But the only problem is the head gasket, which usually gives problems. Otherwise, overall, the engine, this car is a very, very good car. So when this car overheats whilst driving, which I would also comment on what Mazda did, it just gets to lose power. So you're driving at 100, it overheats, you cannot accelerate any further. The car goes down to maybe 20 kilometers per hour or less. So that's a sign that the engine is overheating. So you stop, add some coolant, and you can drive again. If it overheats again, it reduces power. So that's a very good system. It prevents burning the engine or forcing to drive the engine that is overheating. So big ups to Mazda on this system. That's an air intake hose. So initially on this vehicle, what I wanted to do was just to remove the cylinder head while the engine was inside the car, but it proved to be very difficult, and the easiest route that I could take was just to remove the engine, which was an easier thing to do. And it being a 2x4, it was even very much easier to do, because all you needed to do was to disconnect the shafts and the exhaust, and the engine was out. So all those cables, the harness, the intake manifold is out already. That's the intake manifold. They are now removing the fuel pipes, the 17mm bolt, or 17mm spanner. So if you're not sure with what you're doing, at some times it's very important to just put some marks, so that when you put them back together, you'll not have to be confused over some things. The fuel pipes are out. So this is a common rail system. That's the pipe that is remaining is the main feed into the rail. You have a return pipe. And that's our fuel rail. Okay, so the fuel rail is out. Okay, the rail is out. Next is the injectors. So that's a fuel return pipe from the injectors. Also make sure you mark the injectors, making sure that as you put them back, each injector goes back where it came from, because these injectors have compensation codes. So just to avoid the issue of programming and all, so we just mark them, then put them back where they came from. Do not have a problem. Okay, those are the bolts, the nuts that hold the injectors. So each injector is held by 2 nuts and a clamp. So to remove the injector, just pry it up, the wrench coming out. So those are the injectors. Make sure you put the injectors separately and very secure, because they're quite expensive. That's a fuel feed pipe to the fuel rail. To remove the tippet cover, you have 10mm bolts that you need to remove. So the tippet cover is out. Tippet cover gasket. Okay, so I had to skip the video because there was a process for removing the engine. So the engine is out. Remove the pulley, the 22 socket. So I made sure I removed the engine together with the gearbox. So you remove the timing cover. It's got 10mm bolts and some 14mm bolts. Okay, so the cylinder head is out. So this is the cylinder head, and that's the part where the black part is where the compression was escaping between cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. So I took it to the machine shop for skimming. So that's the product after skimming. Now all I need to do was to wash it. Okay, just cleaning the cylinder head. Here I'm using a P226. A P226 sandpaper to just make the head smooth. To wash the head, just use soap and water. So make sure you're very thorough in cleaning it, because there's some metal filings that are usually left by the machines. Then also clean on top of the pistons just to remove some carbon. This will help the engine run smooth. So just use a fine sandpaper and just after sanding, just get a clean cloth and wipe on the pistons. So that's the product after cleaning. And that's my new gasket. I put it on ebay.com for about £76. That's the part number. So all you do is put your head gasket, then put the cylinder head on top. Then put your bolts there. These are 12 millimeter bolts. They're 10. So I first tied the bolts to 40 Newton meters. In that order. So you can notice I'm going around the head, starting from the center, going outwards. Then I went to 86 Newton meters. That's 86 Newton meters. Those are valve lifters. They help to set the clearance on the valves. So just get a wire to remove the oil from inside, then they become soft. After that, you can put it in the cylinder head. So there are 16 of them. Just do the same for all of them. You put your rockers there, the rocker arms. Always remember to apply some oil before putting the camshafts. So that's the exhaust camshaft. The bolts that go on the camshaft and the caps. That's the intake camshaft. It has a timing marks. So make sure as you put them, you align the marks with the exhaust camshaft. So the exhaust camshaft has one dot as a mark, and the intake has two marks. So the one mark on the exhaust has to match with the two marks on the intake camshaft. Always remember to clean your parts before you fit them. Make sure you counter check, make sure all the bolts are tied. Because any loose bolt inside there would cause some damage. Then make sure you turn the camshafts. You have to be very free. As you can see, they're turning very smooth. So that's the timing mark. The two timing marks on the camshafts. Those marks over there. So you have to merge. Once you do that, then you go to the timing. So I use my dipstick to set the crankshaft on TDC. It's a very simple process for those that know automotive mechanics. So there's a timing mark on the crank sprocket and the camshaft sprocket. So that's a yellow mark on the chain. So it has two, one for the crankshaft and one for the camshaft. So we just align the mark with the same as the one on the camshaft. So this engine is very easy to time. your chain guides. It has 2 chain guides. Bolted with 10mm bolt. So this is the tensioner side of the guide. So for this tensioner, just slide into the slot. Yes. There it goes. Okay, that's how it's fitted. Then you remove the blocker pin on the tensioner. Okay, so the chain is secured. Timing is done. So you check your marks, make sure they're matching. So there's a mark there. That's the mark. And another one on the crankshaft there. So that's how easy it is to time this engine. Then remember to tighten the camshaft bolt. Fix the timing cover. So from here, it's just a matter of putting back everything the way they came. Otherwise, the job is done. Then put the timing cover, then start putting back your injectors where they came out. So basically just putting back everything the way they came. The injectors, they're bolted in. The return pipe is bolted in with the banjo bolts. The fuel pipes are in. So just to say, this job is not a DIY. You have to be a professional mechanic to do this job, or else you risk damaging the engine further. So when you have a problem, you have to take your car to your garage so a mechanic can work on it. It has to be a certified mechanic. So I was just doing this job from home. Those are the heater plugs. They're bodied with a 12mm wrench. Okay, so this is the product. We've put the vacuum pump, we've put the injector pump, the diesel pump rather. We put back all the pipes. The turbocharger and the exhaust, butted in. So behind there's some coolant pipes, there's some oil pipes. Make sure you're secured properly. And some silicone if you can, just to prevent any leaks. That's the fan belt. It's gone in. So after this job, we need to regas the aircon. So I had to connect the cables in advance because some of them are quite difficult to remove, and they would be very difficult to fit when the engine is already inside the car. So thankfully the harness is long enough to move from the car. And so most of the parts most of the cables are fitted from outside before hoisting the engine into the body. The coolant pipes, just make sure you do as much work as you can whilst you still have some space. Okay, so the engine is in, it's been hoisted in, it's sitting on the mountings. So from here you just have to put the other things that are remaining. So the engine is sitting on the mountings, well secured. So the front bumper, the radiator is in. The engine is ready to start, and there we go. The engine is running.